run huge deficits in peacetime without a recession. So we tripled out the debt of the country and got 15.8 million jobs. When I was there, we had 3 surplus, and I'll let the second President Bush another one, and we had 22.7 million jobs. But to me, the most important thing was that 95% of the people had greater income gains when I served under President Reagan. From the 80th to the 95th percentile, people gained about 10% more. From the 20th to the 40th, 25% more. In the middle, 70% more. In the next 20%, more than twice as much income gain. In the bottom 20%, 30 times the income gain. And 100 times as many people moved from poverty into the middle class. I know something about shared prosperity and trying to fight income inequality. And I believe we should vote for Hillary because she's the only person in either party ready to be President of the United States and defend the country and promote shared prosperity and deal with the health care issues and make college affordable and make people looking for land in the workforce on day one. So what's going on out there? How many of you watched the President's State of the Union address? A lot, okay. Here's basically what he said. I know that times are not great for everybody, but you have to realize we're in a global economy and America is doing better than any other big economy on earth. We have created 14 million jobs in 5 years, the fastest rate since the 1990s. We have the strongest military in the world, and we're making headway against ISIS. And we have 90% of our people, plus over 90% with health insurance for the first time in American history. And that's all true. But there are other things that are also true. And that's the space in which this election is being fought. It's also true that 84% of the American people, after you adjust for inflation, have had no increase in their income since the Great Crash. The only full recovery has come from the wealthiest Americans and the upper middle class, who are particularly well positioned in certain areas. In fact, about half the American people are living on what they were making or less the day I left office. That's 15 years ago. That's too long to wait. And you've got millennials who are afraid they can never pay off their college loan and never be able to get a loan to start their own business and never own their own home. People living with their folks more than ever before. You've got this epidemic of opiate and heroin abuse, which is sweeping across America. When you go on, pull up on the New York Times today, the pictures of 2 maps. What did it look like, the drug use patterns in 2002? What does it look like today? And it's eating people alive. In spite of the fact that, in general, we are less racist, sexist, and homophobic than we used to be, and we understand we need diversity in the abstract, and that our diversity is a great asset, people are spooked on what happened in Paris and San Bernardino. They're sick and tired of seeing black kids shot who present no threat to the police. Some people want to send all of the immigrants who are here who are undocumented, all 11 million of them, home. And others, like Hillary, think we need the dreamers from Hispanic countries and Asian countries, and we want to support our economy. Some people think we move too fast, too far on gay rights, and we don't. And we don't think we can turn back. Some people in the other party even think that part of our problem is we're too obsessed with global warming. It's just some scientific theory. Today we learned Last week we learned that 2015 was the second hottest year in America on record. Today in the press it says that it was the hottest year for the planet as a whole ever recorded. So we're divided about more than economics. And we're suffering from political gridlock and the influence of the Citizens United decision and all this big money in politics, a lot of which this Congress is never even required to be reported. Which is interesting, you know. People always talk about values. And my mother raised me and said, Bill, if you don't want somebody to know something, you probably shouldn't do it. Whatever they don't want anybody to know. With so many people frustrated and angry and hurting, the greatest immediate emotional release is granted when you tell people who to blame. And it's never them. I mean, you're trying to get hired as president, you can't tell the people you want to hire you. It's your fault. So, who do the Republicans blame? They blame in no particular order and different among different candidates, Muslims, Mexicans, President Obama. Some guy got a cold in Indonesia where he was born if he wasn't born in Africa, and so it's his fault. Or they blame Hillary, even though they spent the last 4 years, really the last 10 years when she was a senator and secretary of state, bragging on her and talking about how effective she was. And so, that's what they do. They have a proven strategy that they have worked now hard for more than a year to distract, divide, and demonize. Leave no fleas behind. And they got all these psychological studies that show that if we pick somebody out of this audience and we all agree to say, tell us a lie we can tell about you that you can disprove. One you can conclusively disprove. You picked it. Then we all went out and badmouthed you for a month. Then you had a press conference and conclusively disproved the lie that you've been telling. Your favorable ratings will still go down, and your unfavorable will still go up. So people say, must be something there. You're good at this. They don't want to run against her. They have sent us a clear signal. She went through that 11-hour Benghazi hearing. The only time in American history that they had 7 committees, all headed by Republicans. And the first 6 did their job and said, look, there were security lapses, just like the professional review said, but she wasn't responsible, and she did order them all to be changed before she left office. And so they set up a special committee, and they told us, you don't understand. The first 6 looked into it. We were results oriented. Don't bother us with the facts. And everything was going on just like they wanted until the House Republican leader committed the unpardonable sin of demonization politics. He told the truth. And it cost him being speaker. I almost wanted the Democrats to vote for him, saying, you know, we don't agree with him, at least we can do business with him, he's honest. Because he said that the most important accomplishment of the Republican Congress, the House of Representatives, was the Special Benghazi Committee, and they're just going off into whatever they could go off into to drive her poll numbers down. Because when she left office as Secretary of State, don't forget, she had the highest approval and lowest disapproval rating of any public figure in either party in the United States of America based on her performance. The Democrats are different. Hillary's opponent said this was all called by Wall Street and billionaires. And if we just break up the big banks and tax them billionaires and give them free health care and education, all will be well. And by the way, that's a better object of our hatred and more accurate than Hillary, Obama, Muslims, and Mexicans. There has been no net in-migration from Mexico for 5 years. 0. Did you all know that? 0. In no small measure because the Mexicans have created 140 universities that are tuition free, and they're graduating 100,000 engineers a year. We're 3 times their population. We graduate 120,000. They can make a living at home, and like most people, they like to stay home. The immigrants that are coming over are coming under the bill signed by President George W. Bush, and I think he was right to do it, saying that the people in El Salvador and Honduras and Nicaragua, which have weak states that are subject to these drug lords, if they're afraid for the safety of their children and they get here, we'll give them a chance to make a claim for asylum. And that's it. But they say, oh, we'll build a wall across there, keep the Mexicans out, and you can have their jobs. We'll keep Chinese products out, and you can make them here. Sounds like a plan to me. The Muslims can be an easy target because of Paris and San Bernardino and the bombings in Boston and the Fort Hood Doctrine. But the truth is that the overwhelming majority, I mean staggering majority of Muslims in America love this country, believe in diversity, hate the Bible, and work. What do we know? In an interdependent world where you don't control everything, if you want to keep the American people safe, yes, you have to use military power. Yes, you have to bargain hard with diplomacy. But you've got to find a way to make more friends and fewer adversaries. And if we're listen to the argument they make to these kids on the social media in plain American terms. You're young, you're listless, you feel like you're drifting, you want your life to have meaning. Hey, I was there. I was in anxiety fits on and off from the time I was 20 till I was 30. I get it. Everybody wants meaning in their life. If we got a deal for you, I'll sit here in the safety of my bunker and let you blow yourself up and take 40 or 50 years off your life. As long as when you do it, you blow a lot of other people up who are predominantly young that you never met and take 40 or 50 years off their lives. It will be wonderful, and you will go straight to heaven. Now, if we can't beat that, folks, there's something wrong with us. But we've got to beat it with the right people speaking in the right words in the minds of the billion people on the social media. It is true that the financial crash was caused, and all financial crashes are throughout history, by too much risk being taken with too little capital to back it up. That some of these big financial institutions and some individuals were more interested in trading and speculating than investing. And they didn't have enough capital to back it up. Our friends in Canada, which we've heard a lot about in these debates, you know how great they are. But nobody ever said Canada never separated their investment banks and their commercial banks. They're all unified, but there are different rules for investing than for speculating. They have more stringent requirements, and they never had a financial collapse, even though they're so dependent on our economy. This is about risk. But Hillary thinks this was caused mostly by the failure of the government, because nobody was home at the Securities and Exchange Commission, the bank regulators didn't do their job, the rating agencies didn't do their job, everybody just looked the other way. And the first public figure to go to Wall Street and warn them that they were going to drive this economy into the tank in 2007 was Hillary. The very first person. She also thinks this political gridlock has a lot to do with it. And we got to have political reform, starting with the fact that the next president will appoint between 1 and 3 justices of the United States Supreme Court who will have a chance to turn around that disastrous citizen to stop this relentless assault on voting rights. They got rid of that provision of the Voting Rights Act, and all over the country, Republicans have tried to restrict voting rights. And now they have a challenge before the court to even challenge the one person, one vote rule, saying, oh, we don't want to have one person, one vote, meaning the people that live in the district, but only the registered voters. That means places where there are a lot of poor people with big families who aren't registered to vote where there are a lot of immigrants, legal immigrants. They'll be denied representation, but there'll be more Republican elections, which is what they want. This Supreme Court deal is a big deal. If you want political reform, it starts with protecting the fundamental values and rights of the Constitution of the United States of America. In our party, there are two candidates invested in a hard-fought battle, which we have different approaches to trying to tackle the same thing. I think they both genuinely want more shared prosperity and less inequality. They both genuinely want to invest more in infrastructure and clean energy. America, by the way, ranks first or second in the world in all scientific studies in the capacity to generate electricity from the sun and the wind. Never mind hydropower, biomass, geothermal, and all the rest. And all the studies. They both, I believe, genuinely want to see equal pay for women. And it's unconscionable that we're one of only 7 countries that doesn't have paid leave. But for Hillary, this is not only a moral issue, it's an economic